Today, we have a crazy carpenter ant infestation. The customer called us after being out of town for like 3 or 4 days. They got home, there were dozens inside this person's house. I just went in and checked it out, and they actually called me and said, hey, I got a bunch of roaches at my house. So I was like, all right. I went over there and started looking around, and there were carpenter ants. Of course, it is surrounded by forest, but there's way more carpenter ants that should be around, and really there should be zero. So let's go ahead and go inside and check it out. Let me grab my spotlight here, and I'm gonna point out all of the carpenter ants that are in this building. It's absolutely overran. So if you look just by the door here, there's a bunch of dead. These got inside, I'm not sure exactly how long ago, but they're still kicking, moving a little bit. There's also live ones everywhere. Here's another half a dozen carpenter ants. They must have found some pheromone trail, and the ants were just infesting everything. Here's a live one by the door here. And what probably happened is the carpenter ants are likely not eating this person's house. They've also complained up in this attic area. So I'm gonna go ahead and climb up into the attic. And I'm gonna show you all these carpenter ants up here. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how I'm gonna get rid of this crazy carpenter ant infestation. Here's a bunch up here, guys. So just on this ledge here, see those 2 carpenter ants on that ledge? They're not really doing anything, but I promise they're alive. Do leave pheromone trails like other ants, but they don't trail quite as heavily. Today's video is actually sponsored by BrioStack. BrioStack is the company that makes the software that my family has been using for the past 4 years that we rely on every day to keep our pest control company running smoothly. But if you want to give BrioStack a try, they do free demonstrations. I'll put a link to that free demonstration in the video. And also, if you mention Dan the Bugman Pest Control channel, when you're doing the free demonstration and you want to switch over to their software, they will give you up to $1,000 off the initial setup process. So if you do end up switching, that could save you tons of money. The worker carpenter ants are much more independent and will forage for food. But right now that carpenter ant is just sensing what's around it, seeing if there's any potential food sources. I think it just realized that I was so close to it. Checking out my finger there, using its antenna. Of course, carpenter ants are insects. Most of the time, the wood that they infest and nest in has moisture in it, but they do have really big mandibles, but they can't really get around human skin enough to bite. I think he is trying to bite me right there, actually. In today's video, I'm going to be using the following products: the Doxum NXT, RSSC, a vacuum cleaner, and the Bifin LP insecticide granules. These products are going to give me all the tools that I need to completely control this house from carpenter ants. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all the ants inside this house that I can, because there's a bunch of them just hanging out that I can get rid of almost immediately. And then I'm going to treat the house on the inside and the outside, and I'm going to show you exactly which chemicals and what I'm doing. So will you go ahead and hand me that vacuum, babe? Honey?
What?
Will you hand me the vacuum? So I'm going to use this vacuum cleaner. Not a sponsored product, and I'm literally just going to vacuum up all the ants that I can find. Instead of just spraying them, they're almost everywhere. They're all around the house, around the ceiling, on the floors, around the doors, chairs, everything. I'm just going to vacuum up as many as I can, and then I'm going to actually use the pesticide products to get rid of the infestation. Pretty complicated, guys. You just find an ant, turn the vacuum on, and suck it up. And then it's inside here somewhere. See? There it is. I'm gonna see how many ants I can vacuum up today. I'm guessing I'm going to get about 30 carpenter ants, which is a lot because these ants are big. There's another one, so this one's alive, but I'm gonna vacuum it up before it knows. I think I got him. That's number 3. There's number 4, 5. Oh no. They went under the cracks. Oh, there's 3 of them right there. There is a bunch of wood up here, guys, but it's not damaged. Like I said, it's likely they found a food source. Contrary to popular belief, don't eat wood. They eat normal ant things, like any kind of sugar-based stuff, like plant nectar. They eat other insects. They eat any kind of organic material. I think this is number 10 I found in the attic. This one's stuck to the carpet. There's another one. All right, I think this is number like 20 and 21 right here. 20 and 21. They're all crawling in here. I'll let them outside in a second and show you how many we got. Spend the last like few minutes vacuuming up, and this is how many we got here. You might be able to see them all crawling around in there. Put them down here, and this just took a couple minutes, guys. This is a non-chemical thing you can do to get rid of pests, but we are still gonna spray it today. Look at all of them, and I'm sure there's more stuck in the filter in here too. But those are all carpenter ants. They're likely all from the same colony. Around this house, guys, there's tons and tons of wood. It's inevitable to have carpenter ants around a house but that's why you need to have a preventative pest control service, because if you live in the country, or even if you live in a neighborhood, guys, these ants can live almost anywhere. After I vacuumed all those up, we're gonna go inside. I'm going to treat the baseboards around the inside of this house and also that attic area, and get down a good protective layer. This is just a residual insecticide. It's mixed with water. I always like to start at the front door. Basically, you just go around and give the baseboards a squirt just like this. It's nothing too complicated. Treating the baseboards like this establishes a good barrier. I just got back up here into the attic, and I actually already see 3 more carpenter ants, so they've definitely got some pretty heavy trail up here to some degree. I'm gonna give it a good spray. There's those 2 more carpenter ants right there. I'm gonna go ahead and spray them now. And that stuff is mostly water, so it's not going to kill them instantly, but it should take the spray back to the colony and get them taken care of from there. So I'm just gonna spray back there. Gonna spray way back here around where all those pipes and exposed wood is. Next, from the inside of the house, I'm going to use the Doxum NXT and treat around all the cracks and crevices around the doors and windows. This is a little bit of an older house, so I have a feeling that that is where most of these carpenter ants are getting in from. Of course, that's not always true, guys. There's just hundreds and hundreds of different entry points for insects that small. But all you do is just spray it around the cracks, around the door like that. All of these windows open, but they're just not sealed super well. So I'm gonna give that area a good spray. I can never know for sure where the carpenter ants are getting in from, but if I can treat all of the obvious areas, sometimes that will take care of it. The last 2 things I'm going to do in today's video, one of them is use the Bifin LP granules. I'm gonna sprinkle these around the whole exterior perimeter of this house. And if you look around, guys, this is where all the carpenter ants are coming in from. You can see huge carpenter ants all around the foundation here. And like I said, we're completely surrounded by woods here, so there's going to be carpenter ants no matter what. But this is going to establish a great barrier around the house. This is a kill on contact insecticide. This stuff will not actually transfer to the colony, so this is just going to establish a barrier. We're also going to be using some products next with the Taurus SC that is going to kill the colony when the carpenter ants come in contact with it. I see about a dozen of them right here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another one, 5, 6. They might be coming in under this crack around here. They're everywhere, guys. There's one of those carpenter ants. They're big, really, really big ants. And their jaws are really big, so they can chew through wood. But again, guys, the carpenter ants don't actually eat the wood. They hardly ever nest in wood that's structurally sound. If there's moist wood around the house, they're gonna have nests, but as long as there's no moisture issues inside your house, then they won't actually nest there. So since I see a lot of ant activity around this side of the house, I'm just gonna sprinkle it out a little further. There's actually a yellow jacket nest going into the ground right there. See that shingle? There's wasps, yellow jackets flying out. Just a little hole in the ground. See, one just went in there. So we're gonna get that for that customer later and get it on video. That's pretty crazy to see that. I'll sprinkle some of these Bifin granules around that too, but that's gonna have to be treated totally different. Just kind of get back here and toss it as far as you can. And a good rule of thumb for how much to use, this is a 25-pound bag. On a normal house, like 1,000 to 2,000 square feet, you use about 3 pounds. So use about 1/5 of this bag for an average sized house. The next lap around the house, I've got my B&G sprayer here with a bunch of water in it, and mixed in with the water is the Taurus SC. This is a termiticide and insecticide, but it has active ingredients that are going to eliminate the carpenter ant colonies that come in contact with it. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is spraying a couple feet out on the ground and a couple feet up, especially around all this plastic board that's surrounding the house. There's a ton of little cracks, especially around here, around all these holes, for example, where these wires are going in, that carpenter ants have access to. Areas like that are likely where the carpenter ants are getting in from. So you just give it a nice spraying. You don't want to leave the house dripping or anything, but just get that area covered. Cover as much surface area as possible, but you don't want the chemical dripping down or anything. That means it's too much. Even around something like this, just spray around it. And a good tip to help eliminate pests, and this customer has done a good job with this, but just leaves like this around the house, guys. Just try to sweep these up every few weeks and make sure there's no nesting sites right next to the house. Of course, there's no getting rid of all the leaves that are in the forest, but if you can keep your house protected from all those nesting sites, then you're gonna give yourself a better chance of being protected from stuff like these carpenter ants. As after I finish spraying around the outside of the house there, it's basically just a matter of time before those carpenter ants are eliminated. It's going to take usually 5 to 10 days for that colony to be completely eliminated using the Taurus SC. They have to transfer it back to the other carpenter ants and kill off the queen. So at the end of my service, I always tell the customers just to be patient. You should see an immediate improvement on the carpenter ants inside, but you may still see a couple stragglers here and there. But it's super important to have a general pest control, like preventative service on your house, and that will prevent any kind of crazy infestation like we saw today from happening again. So thank you guys so much for watching this video about carpenter ants. Let me know if you had any questions about how I did the treatment today or anything about carpenter ants, and I would be happy to answer them in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. You found one? Oh, nice. All right, let's just start videoing.